What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Corey Austin MMA Theorem. So thank you so much to my new subscribers. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really do enjoy doing this channel. I love watching it grow. It's grown quite a lot, especially for a new channel within the past couple of days. So I can only thank you guys for that. And the engagement that I've been getting on especially a couple of my videos has been massive. So I'm really appreciative of you guys, all the ones that hit that subscribe button. You will get a fun and objective take on here. I'm not a leaner to one side typically, and I try to give a perspective that is not subjective, but one that you can kind of see both sides. You can see both angles because there's a lot of guys who really lean to one side or lean to the other. I try not to do that. Now, obviously, I'm human. I have personal preferences, personal opinions, and feelings on things. So there are going to be times where I feel a certain way about a certain thing. That's just part of the human condition. Okay. So don't 100% hold me to that. But for the most part, I will try to always have an objective take. So I'm not a huge fan of Belal, remember the name Muhammad. Okay. He did impress me quite a lot in his last fight, but we are going to talk about him today because I think Belal Muhammad in the welterweight division is in a kind of a sticky, tricky situation that he and his coach are not really sure what to do. Okay. I think they've gotten themselves into a situation where he's training really heavily with, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam, who obviously Islam's the current lightweight champion. We're going to look at a video. Well, first, what we're going to do is look at a couple of videos of Belal talking about training with those guys and discussing training with those guys. And you can just hear in his voice and see in his affect that he just has a huge ton of respect for Khabib and Islam and all those guys that he trains with. And I also think that they've leveled him up. I do believe that they are responsible for him being the current champion at welterweight. Okay, Houston, we have a problem, as they would say, because we all know that Islam is interested in capturing double gold, which means he wants to go up to welterweight. Well, Belal has the belt at welterweight right now. Okay, that's a good segue to an interview with Belal Muhammad's coach, where he's talking about that relationship and what Islam plans to do, what Belal plans to do, and he talks about how there is definitely some hesitancy for those two guys to face each other. Okay, so if Islam wants to move up and get double gold, he's going to have to do one of two things. Either wait until Bilal's not in there anymore, or maybe they make a collective decision for Belal to move up. First, let me show you these few videos where Belal is describing his training regimen and his respect for training with those guys. So check this out.
Now, right?
Bro, and he's still freaking so strong.
I'm sure.
And it's like when somebody's rolling with you and they're sitting there, oh, order me a Starbucks. He's getting me like in a Kimura. And I'm sitting there like, bro, should I be like mad or like embarrassed?
Camp obviously being a little bit different, being with Khabib. What was that like training with Khabib, and was there any positive effects that you actually did take in there into the octagon below?
Yeah, honestly, it was amazing. It was one of those things where the whole time me and my coach were looking at each other because my coach came down there with me 5 weeks. Shout out to Lou Taylor, yeah. And we're telling each other like, man, look where we are now. Like we're training with Khabib's a guy that I've looked up to my whole career, a guy that the Muslim world loves, and he's a superstar. There's guys that are like stars, and then there's guys that are next level superstars. He's a next level superstar, and I'm learning from this guy. I'm training with this guy. We're eating together. We're driving in the same vans. So that whole thing was like surreal. But when it came to the training wise, like these guys train different. It's the hard work that we put in. It was another level. And him as a coach, he's like a tyrant. Training side by side with the current champion now, Islam Makhachev, seeing how good he really is. Because you hear it all the time, rumors and stuff. Oh, Islam's gonna be better than Khabib, and you're thinking, oh, it's just because his teammates are saying that. But going with him, literally getting beat up by him, every day at practice, getting tapped out by him.
Who do you want next?
Hamza to me make the most sense.
Obviously, you can just see his face light up when he talks about these guys. They're helping him tremendously. He's leveling up. They share the same religion together. They pray together. They eat together. They train together. They do everything together. Okay, so they're literally think of each other as blood brothers in a sense. Okay, and I have a brother, so I know what that bond feels like. Okay, so and you can see that in Belal when he speaks about these guys. All right, let's look at this quick interview with Belal Muhammad's coach, and let's hear what he has to say. So check it out.
Khabib and Islam kind of like, hinting maybe they might be down to fight Belal. Did you see that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
When did they hint that?
Khabib was saying my heart wouldn't be happy if they fight, but he might not be able to stop it from happening at this point.
Those are like our brothers. You don't want to see two brothers fight, but in Islam's perspective, he only wants to fight a few more times, a few more years, and 170 is looking like a snack to him up there. Maybe he thinks he has what it takes to go collect that double belt because he has a loss on his record. And the thing is, if he wants to get closer to GOAT status, he needs to capture more belts. He can't go down. His only option is to go up. And if Belal did not have that belt, they would 100% take that fight and go up and get that welterweight belt. But it's not something on a personal level or a camp level that any of us wants to see. We train with those guys a lot, so we don't want to sully our relationships. Even on a religious type of thing, we pray with those brothers. All things come from the man upstairs, so whatever happens will happen. Some things really ain't even about money,
Because you hear a lot of fighters saying that. If you give me enough money, I'll fight my homie.
Nah, even for Islam or for Belal, money is literally a non-factor. The only thing that is a factor is legacy. Is this legacy bigger than my friendship? It's definitely not money. It's definitely Islam wants a bigger legacy. And how long is Belal gonna be an obstacle or a deterrent from him, going up and getting that?
All right. So when you listen to that, you can only come away with the idea that that's probably not going to happen, meaning Islam choosing to go up to welterweight, because if he does that, when Leon Edwards was the man at welterweight, that's all he talked about. Islam couldn't stop talking about going up to welterweight, getting that second goal. Obviously, he doesn't want to fight down. He fought Volkanovski twice. Volkanovski coming up. Islam doesn't get anything from that. Because, he won both of those fights, but then you're still left with, well, yeah, but that was a 145er. Big deal. You beat a 145er. You know how people are. Even though Volkanovski is one of the best ever, I mean, Islam absolutely should have been given the respect for taking those fights and winning them the way he did. But either way, that's neither here nor there. But when you look at what the coach is saying, it seems pretty obvious that they are conflicted about that idea of Islam coming up and then these two brothers having to fight each other. And you heard him say, money's not everything. These guys don't care about money. And I think we saw that with Khabib. When he retired at 29-0, he walked away. And look at how many guys, right now, Cowboy Cerrone's trying to come back. Look at how many of these guys walked away, retired. They're gone for 2 or 3 years. And then they Henry Cejudo it right back into the UFC. We've seen so many guys do that. And Khabib has not done that. And that just goes to show you that, well, one thing, he don't need money. He's good as far as monetarily. But the second thing it shows you is that there are certain things that they hold in higher regard, right? Up here and in here than that green-eyed monster, money. They're not. I did a video yesterday about John Jones, and his green-eyed monster, how greedy he was being with trying to get 30 mil for his fight with Tom Aspinall, and that's 5 times the amount he's ever made. You don't get that from Khabib and Islam and Belal Muhammad. I mean, listen, the money's coming. The way they look at life, if you be the best person that you can be spiritually, religiously, and you work as hard as you possibly can, then the money and the provision will automatically come to you. That's the way they look at things, right? And that's certainly not a bad thing, but this poses a problem, this thought process and this bond that has begun to be created between Bilal and Habib and Islam, I think is causing some issues where people don't know where to move their pieces. I have some theories on what could be taking place behind the scenes and what the thought processes could be here. Okay, because I'm looking at Bilal. Bilal's a 36-year-old man. Bilal's not a 29, 30-year-old guy just now getting into the prime of his career. I mean, granted, he looks great for a guy that is 36 years old, but when you're talking about, 170, I mean, he has a couple of more years at best before his body is going to start failing on him a little bit just from being an older individual. He'll be closer to 40, right? Islam is absolutely a little younger, but if you look at some of the previous videos, Bilal was talking about how Islam was submitting him in training, and now granted, this was a couple of years ago, these videos were when he first started training with them. So I'm sure through that process, Bilal has gotten quite a bit better. So maybe he feels like in a fight now, he could potentially win a fight with Islam, but does speak to the kind of respect that he has for that guy, and I don't think he wants to take that fight. So for me, I think Bilal is looking at possibly moving up to middleweight. First, let me back up and say Bilal has promised to seal the deal with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Okay, because if he bounces now and tries to go up to middleweight and fight like DDP or somebody like that, people are going to say two things. One, so that Islam can come up and get double gold status. And for two, he's running from Shavkat. That's what they'll say. So I think that Belal Muhammad is going to go ahead and defend against Shavkat because Shavkat's a beast. He will look like he's running if he leaves now and goes to middleweight to make room for Islam. Okay, so I think he'll go ahead and seal the deal there. Whether he wins that or not, who knows? Shavkat is a beast, and it's hard to say who would actually win that fight. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said Shavkat hands down. But seeing Belal Muhammad's performances more recently since he's been training with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev, I can't really say for sure. I think Belal could potentially beat Shavkat. That's a conversation for a different video. All right. With that said, he's going to go ahead and defend the belt against Shavkat. But if he beats Shavkat, gives Shavkat his first blemish on his record, okay, I believe that Belal Muhammad is going to be looking to make an immediate jump to middleweight to fight either DDP or Khamzat Chimaev. It's hard to say how Belal probably really feels about that. A couple of years ago, I can show you a video here where he was actually saying, but this was in welterweight, of course, he was saying that Khamzat made the most sense and wanted to fight Khamzat. Check it out right here.
Who do you want next? Is it Hamzat? I mean, who is it that you want next? And
Hamzat and me make the most sense. Yeah.
So you hear there, he's open to fighting Khamzat, but obviously now Khamzat is at middleweight, right? But I don't necessarily think that Belal could beat DDP because I think DDP is one of those guys that has just proven that probably not a good idea to bet against that guy because people keep betting against him and he keeps finding a way to win. And he's just one of those iron will sort of fighters. I did a video about that the other week. I'll put that at the end here if you want to watch it. It's a great video. The way it's probably going to align with the timing is Khamzat may get that chance at DDP first. Okay. So then whoever the winner of that would be may be the next person in line for Belal Muhammad should he decide to come up and try to go for double gold status. I think over at the Nurmagomedov camp, Belal, Habib, and Islam and Belal's coach are having some conversations about not just Islam moving up, but possibly Belal moving up. I do not believe for 1 second that Islam and Belal Muhammad are going to be okay with fighting one another. okay? Because that's going to be a situation where if money is not your main motivator, they're probably not going to do that. And they value that relationship with Islam and Khabib way more than they would value a few extra $1,000,000, okay? Because the way they look at it, if I'm doing the best I can in my life, I'm serving Allah the best I can, the money will come. He will provide. You know, that's their frame of thinking. As Bilal gets older and gets towards the sunset of his prime and the sunset of his contract, he will be looking to move up to the middleweight where the guys aren't as fast, where you can be a little older, be a little heavier, be slightly a bit slower, all of those things, and maybe capture gold there, opening up the welterweight division for Islam to come up and capture welterweight. And then I think the way that Bilal looks at that is if he vacates the belt, you know, he didn't have to lose it to his brother. He didn't have to lose it to his friend. They didn't have to fight each other for that, right? And I think he would be okay with vacating that welterweight belt if he knew that he did it for that sort of loftier cause. I think he would be okay with that. I don't think Bilal's too concerned about holding two belts simultaneously if he freely vacates the welterweight one and just moves up, right? That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think about this. I've never been like a huge fan of Bilal. You know, I used to make fun of him. You know, instead of remember the name, I always called him remember the decision. because every fight he won was a decision. Like, geez, guys, please finish someone. But then he had that fight against Sean Brady. And then since then, I've been like, okay, all right. You know, Bilal's starting to grow on me a little bit. And I think just by virtue of seeing the shift in his, not only his mindset, but his fighting style, I think going out there and working with those guys has done him a lot of good, is what I think. And I think we could be seeing some shifting going on here in the near future with not only Islam, but Bilal as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Also, like the video, share it. If you would share the content, that would be great. And don't forget to hit that noti bell so you can get all of the notifications when I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. All right, have a good day. Peace.